Honorable Minister Maite Kwane Mashabane, I think it will be a good time for you to quickly bring us all in the house and inform the audience and the people of South Africa as to what are your expectations. Thank you very much.
Program Director, the Honorable Deputy Minister of Women, Youth and People with Disabilities. May I take this opportunity to welcome our partners, the Honorable Minister of Police, Honorable Tele, our partner, Deputy Minister, the Honorable Deputy Minister of Sports, Arts and Culture, Mayor Notawe Mafu, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, members of the media. Malibongwe. At the outset, allow me to extend our sincere condolences to the families of Siaparankwe, Ntate Endrum Langeni, Mbogodo, Me Zinzi, Mandela, and other heroes and heroines, ordinary men and women South Africans who have passed on because of this pandemic that we are faced with or confronted with. On behalf of ourselves, we salute all those souls departed, and we say, may their souls rest in eternal peace. I'm pleased to join you or to officially launch Women's Month 2020. The objective of this briefing is to mark the beginning of a program for Women's Month 2020. It is also an opportunity to call to action to the nation to achieve gender equality in our lifetime together. This year, we will commemorate Women's Month under the difficult circumstances due to the difficult circumstances that were brought by COVID-19 and national state of disaster. Equally, our country is facing another pandemic of gender-based violence and femicide, which had continued to raise its ugly head in our society. Ladies and gentlemen, despite the current difficulties and difficult situation, our people, that is confronting our people, our nation, we believe it is important to remain steadfast in our resolve to highlight the issues facing women in our country. This year also marks the 25th anniversary of the Beijing Declaration and Platform of Action, the 20th anniversary of the UN Security Council Resolution 1325 on women, peace, security, as well as the end of the African Union Decade of the African of the African women. Tomorrow, the 31st July, it's another important occasion as we mark the 58th anniversary of the Pan-African Women's Organization, PAWO. PAWO is a precursor of OAU. Before OAU was formed in 1963, in 1962, women of the continent came together and formed Pan-African Women's Organization for the unity of Africa. Ladies and gentlemen, today signals the start of a national conversation and actions aimed at continuing our collective efforts to work towards achievements of gender equality in our lifetime. Women's Month provides an opportunity to pay tribute to the generations of women whose struggles laid the foundations for the progress made in empowering women and achieving gender equality to date. The struggles waged by our forebears have resulted in important strides we have today. These are struggles against patriarchy. In this regard, we will forever be indebted and continue to salute those heroines past and present. Bo Me Gertrude Schope, who will be celebrating her 95th birthday this year, Siti Halala Guye Halala. We include May Sophie de Bruyn, the only other woman who joined the March of 1956, who is still with us. We will not limit this to the two of them, but also to May Charlotte Maxeke, who had passed on, May Susulu, May Winnie Madikizela Mandela, Helen Joseph, May Rahima Musa, Pila Ndandwe, Dulcie September, Emma Mashinini, and many others who have ushered in the rights and freedoms of women, which we can lay claim to even today. Members of the media, we will celebrate this year as Women's Month under the theme Generation Equality, Realizing Women's Rights for an Equal Future. The concept of generation equality is a global campaign, and it links South Africa to global efforts to achieve gender equality by 2030. We want to join hands across spheres of government and with all sectors of our society as part of the decade of an action towards gender equality. We also want to see sustainable programs that are geared towards achieving this goal. Together with civil society, we are establishing Action Coalition, which will work to drive visible change for women in our country and in the continent of Africa and the world at large. Ladies and gentlemen, the Department of Women, Youth, and Persons with Disabilities plays an important role in the mainstreaming of gender, youth, and issues affecting persons with disabilities. Our focus continues to be on intersectionality, because women, youth, persons with disabilities continue to face multiplicity of challenges and forms of deprivations in our society. It is important to recognize that women, youth, and persons with disabilities have been hardest hit by the effects of the two pandemics that I referred to earlier on, COVID-19, and during lockdown, we've seen many other women killed by the scourge that I referred to earlier on of gender-based violence and femicide. While government introduced a range of relief measures, it is critical that women's access to government social and economic relief measures is urgently addressed, and that women are at the center of government's economic recovery plan. Ladies and gentlemen, as a country, we must continue to strengthen the men's movement so that men can play a meaningful role in the ending of the gender-based violence and femicide and contribute to a behavioral change and breaking of the stereotypes towards the goal of gender equality. Otherwise, it takes two to bring the one, a he or a she. So the love must also be projected on that side. We should join hands across spheres of government and with all sectors of our society as part of a decade of action towards gender equality. We want to see sustainable programs that are geared towards achieving this goal. Together with civil society, we are establishing action coalitions which will work to drive visible change for women in our country. We want to hear the voices of women in rural areas, in informal settlements, young women and girls, elderly women, women with disabilities, women workers, women in the LGBTQIA community, women in the faith-based communities, women in traditional leadership, women professionals, and across all other sectors. We will also utilize this month to contribute to ending gender discrimination and gender-based violence and femicide and advance the rights of women and girls in the political, economic, social, and cultural spheres of life. It also is an opportunity to mobilize women to strengthen their organized formations towards development of sustainable action coalitions, which are collectives of change makers of all ages and genders to tackle the unfinished business of empowerment of women. We will continue to develop the national consensus around gender policy priorities and programs to advance the gender equality by 2025 and 2030. Ladies and gentlemen, our call to action to the nation is today: be a part of the generation that ends gender inequality. I am calling upon change makers of all ages and genders to tackle the unfinished business of empowering women. We can achieve this through multi-generational campaign under the slogan, "Be a part of a generation that ends gender inequality." We have to strive to dismantle patriarchy in all forms as an underlying cause of many of the injustices women face on a daily basis. We say to our boy children, you did not create patriarchy, so don't be a lieutenant of patriarchy. Be part of change. We want to see every day all thousands of men and women, organizations, formations, collectives, businesses, major companies, and small and international development partners responding to gender inequality through programs and projects, interventions, campaigns, and mobilizations. On our part, we should like to remember that the media is a tool, it's a platform, it's a partner. You are our partners to make sure that even social media come in to share what you are doing, because you are change agents who will bring about this change. We believe that your work will also inspire others to take on similar projects within their own spaces. I want to hear or to be invited to a webinar of activists, of communicators who wants to be part of a change, be a change agent in the true sense. As we confront the second pandemic of gender-based violence and femicide, we must agree that we fight this together, and that it's bigger, and that government as a collective has already embarked on this initiative. That's why we are protected or super protected today, because we are partners. We have been brought together by the president to form an inter-ministerial committee which will regularly inform him of the work we do. In fact, we are now expected to report weekly as to what is going on. As we will utilize the Women's Month to accelerate the implementation of the National Strategic Plan on Gender-Based Violence and Femicide in partnership with the civil society organizations. We call upon our communities to join and help us eradicate this pandemic. We further appeal to families and communities to come together and work together against this scourge, to expose perpetrators of this gender-based violence and femicide. Mmogo re tla kgona. United, we will stand and be able to achieve all our aspirations. I am pleased to inform you that this year's National Women's Day event of the 9th of August will be virtually celebrated. It will include participation of various stakeholders, including stalwarts in our liberation, a keynote address by the President of the Republic, and other activities. Our focus would have been on Mpumalanga this year. So if we tilt towards Mpumalanga, don't wonder why we do that, because had it not been for COVID, we would have the main event in Mpumalanga. In conclusion, as the country we continue to battle the COVID-19 pandemic, would like to encourage everyone in our country to wear their masks, sanitize regularly, and wash their hands with soap, and to do their part to observe social distancing. Together, we must overcome this pandemic. Malibongwe.
Thank you very much. You know, COVID has changed so many things. Before COVID, you know, whenever we appreciated something, we will clap hands, or just like when we say Malibongwe, people will say, but for some reasons during this time, I think we seem to be frozen a bit. Can we thank the Minister for her input? Thank you very much, Minister. This is really highly appreciated. I think the Minister has tabled before us the objectives, the vision, the strategy, and has given us sufficient material to engage during the latter part of the program. At this point in time, I would like to invite one of the members of the Interministerial Committee, our Honorable Minister of Police, Minister Bheki Cele, to tell us about their role and contribution in the struggle of gender equality and all other associated issues that women, youth, and persons with disability are struggling with. Welcome, Minister.
Food. Did you take this off?
Yes. Okay. Yes, I did.
Okay.
I wasn't supposed to.
I'm scared. Police will arrest me. Huh?
For now, before you arrest us.
Okay. No, thanks, Program Director. Thanks very much, Minister, to lead us on this one as a leader on the interministerial. We really thank you. Allow me to greet you all this morning as we embark on the imperative launch in our calendar where we observe and honor the role of women in many spheres of our country, while enhancing programs aimed at intensifying the struggle for the emancipation of women. Without running the risk of repeating what has been already said, I must emphasize that the absolute brutality and violence against women in South Africa is unacceptable and should be stopped now and here. For millions of women of this land, it has stopped being business as usual in choosing who they date, who they marry, who they trust, where they walk, where they walk, where they wake up, and who they let into their lives, not knowing if and when they will turn against them and cause them the harm. Minister, this is based on the fact that it would have been easy to say you are safe in your house, but it looks like houses where these women are supposed to be protected and safe has become the most unsafe places. Gender-based violence and femicide is more than just a scourge. It remains a reflective of this dysfunctional society. Gender-based violence and femicide is a shameful reflection of some men that walk amongst us and how they treat those they claim to love behind closed doors. Gender-based violence and femicide continues as a direct result of inaction and silence and the turning of the blind eye. I'm very sure if all of us, we can shout and say, "Wenzani, why do you do that?" I guess life can be better than now. This question of keeping silence about it and say it's not happening to me should come to an end. Honorable ministers here, as the police, we are often asked, what are we doing about gender-based violence and femicide? The truth is that police alone are never going to end the brutality and violence against women. That's a fact that we want to drive home. We've got a big responsibility as members of the South African Police, no doubt about it. But we need to invite and carry everybody around us and be part of the bigger solutions. It cannot be done in the corners by the police alone, working alone there. Last week when I delivered the budget vote of the Department of Police, I again dedicated the speech to the fight against gender-based violence and femicide and all its formation. This is the third year of my budget, Minister, dedicated to that, because we are not going to pass when things are really happening this way. In responding to the gender-based violence and femicide, I announced that significant progress is being made in resourcing specialized units, both with funding and human capital. One such unit is a Family Violence Child Protection Sexual Offences Unit, also known as FCS. This component of the SAPS has trained detectives that investigate and put watertight cases together that at times leave courts with no choice but to put away perpetrators for a life. Well, we have reached agreement that we won't work on silos anymore. You will be meeting these units. They will be working with women formations so that the reports that they give to the police is a report that everybody knows. But not also only to give, also to give their ears what are the expectations out there for these units to work with all other informations led by your interministerial committee. The unit continues to secure multiple life imprisonment for GBV-related cases. In this financial year, 50 million rands has been prioritized towards the direct resources of these units in terms of goods and services, vehicle procurement, as well as other equipment. The unit continues to be beefed up with more officers to handle the workload. So far, 312 of other 4,000 trainees constables who completed their specialized training were identified for placement at the 185 FCS units across the country. We are training new 312 people that have passed last year to join the unit. The unit has got 185 units around the country, but it's got 10 extra, which make 195, that are specializing on the serial sexual abuse. I heard you mentioning the Umzumbe serial killing that is taking place there. Those are the things that we have specializing units looking after those situations. While the national lockdown is meant to keep citizens safe from COVID-19, However, staying at home for many women in this country has resulted in increased domestic abuse behind walls and locked doors. Special our June month, for some reason, was a terrible, terrible month. We lost almost 29 women in 1 month who were killed. Everybody that committed that crime was arrested. And everybody, without fail, had some relationship with victims. So that's what really makes us wonder, what kind of men are these? But as we have said, Minister Maite, I want to repeat this, and I don't want to be misunderstood as one of the interviews I did a few days ago. I want to say, for some reason, when a woman is killed, is not usually the first time that we notice that she's living in danger. This young brother of the lady that was found in Dobsonville on the veld said the boyfriend tried 4 times to murder his sister and was only successful on the 5th time. Now the question, where are we as friends, as families, as everybody, to say the first time, the second time, the 5th time won't fail? And indeed, the case of Pule, Chocho Pule, was not the first time. It was the second time, that attempt. So most of the time, it should be the question of all of us putting an effort of protecting and working together, because it's good that the police arrest people that have committed this crime. But the crux of the matter, they are gone. So we need to work harder on preventative measures than reaction. Yes, it's fine to arrest them and all that, but by that time they are gone. I think it's one thing that we'll have to work together to work and enhance and really enhance the methods of preventing and protecting before these things happen. Well, we'll do our job as the police. We have kept enough kits this time to deal with the gender-based violence and femicide, as we need to arrest these people and find the answers on what happened and going to court so that we can send them where they belong. Equal on the issue of women empowerment that you have raised, Minister, allow me to bring forth a very pertinent subject of gender representation in the appointment of women in position of power as heads of institutions and in the senior management position. This is important, that women must be given, must be allowed to have their full potential of leadership out there. Once they lead, they will be in the position to say this is done, this is not done. It should not be as if natural that women will be forever led by men. There are capable women there, and the space must be given. And to make sure, men must stop thinking that they must protect the women. Women are capable of doing it themselves. Men, they must talk to themselves, because women don't rape themselves. They don't perpetrate violence themselves. The issue here is about men. The time has come that men makes extra contribution. Sons look of the mothers, and sons treat mothers as they treat girlfriends and treat wives. It's not the question of women. It's a disease of men, and men must really take charge of themselves. Once men say we shall not do it and they don't do it, absolutely, there will be no abuse of women and killing of women. So as we join you, we will have to make a call as men. But one other thing that we commit ourselves, Minister, is that we work with our structures, the police, to understand how important this thing is, especially those that are at the front desk. When women come to report, police is not their job to tell the victim to go back and negotiate. Theirs is to arrest. It's not their job to negotiate. It's not their job to tell the women that you should not have dressed like this. If you dress like this, anything will happen to you. Police are not fashion advisors. Police, their job is to make sure that they arrest. And we will be tough. We will be tougher on those police that they don't do their job. So we want to work with you. We want to work with everybody. We want to stop working on silos, but we want to make sure that women are safe and the country becomes safe for women. When you ask me what does that mean, is when the young woman in the middle of the night walks alone from point A to point B without the fear of attack, rape, or abuse. That will the society must work towards too. That women should not be accompanied, should be able to walk alone whenever they want to, whatever part of the world. So together, we'll be committing ourselves to work together on that. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Minister Gele. I'm sure you'll agree with me that he deserves more. Would you like to give him Yeah, thank you very much. Honest, frank, and clear commitments in terms of where the minister is taking the Department of Police. At this point in time, I would like to invite the Deputy Minister of Sports, Arts and Culture, Honorable Nokawe Mafi.
Thank you very much, Program Director, the Deputy Minister in the Presidency for Women, Youth and Persons with Disability, Honorable Professor Hlengiwe Mkhize. To the Minister in the Presidency for Women, Youth and Persons with Disability, Honorable Mayite Nkwane Mashabane, Minister of Police, Honorable Peggy Tsale, members of the media, ladies and gentlemen. Yesterday, we laid to rest the mortal remains of that illustrious son of Africa, Baba Andrew Mlangeni, as we all know. We're reminded of the inscription that is found at the entrance of the Solomon Mahlangu Freedom College in Mazimbu, Tanzania, which properly captures what these patriots stood for. And I quote, "Ours was not for personal glory, nor distinction, but for a noble cause of our time, the liberation of the people of South Africa and the entire humanity," close quote. It is very encouraging to witness the support from ministers in various crucial portfolios to women's empowerment and gender equality. It gives sense of confidence that gender equality is possible, especially if we receive backing from each other. That, as Minister Pekitele says, we stop working in silos. All sectors of government have been affected by COVID-19, so we need to pull together to ensure that we pull through as one in this pandemic. Unity and solidarity is the only way we will conquer. Needless to mention that in any disaster, women are disproportionately affected. Therefore, special efforts and interventions need to be developed and put in place to ensure that women's issues are adequately addressed, including women with disabilities, young women, and LGBTQIA. It has been very much illustrated that during the pandemic, a lot of people lose their jobs. We know that there's about close to 3 million people that have lost their jobs. And also the 2/3 of those are women. Further than that, we've been told that by the end of April, beginning of May, 47% of households had no money to buy food. Women's economic empowerment is thus critical, now more than ever. It is not a favor, it is something that we need to do. COVID-19 not only enables us to view the pandemic from a gender perspective, but it enlists us to look deeper and uncover issues of social cohesion and nation building, which is our work as the Department of Sports, Arts and Culture. Because of the cross-cutting nature of social cohesion and nation building, you can't talk this without talking gender equality and women's empowerment. It forces us to interrogate deep issues of inequality across the board, review and revisit matters of divisions, discrimination, and exclusion. National days are a vehicle for advancing social cohesion, as I have said, and nation building. Hence, we align ourselves as the department with this year's theme, which is Generation Equality, Realizing Women's Rights for an Equal Future. There are elements of women leadership in sport that we need to deal with and unravel. The issue of women's participation in power sharing and decision making in sport is a very thorny issue. We can add to this the issue of some of the human rights dilemmas, which we now seem to be dealing with in the department, amongst those which I know that everybody has been looking at, the issue of racism. Moreover, there's the big elephant in the room in terms of gender-based violence, especially as it relates to intimate partner violence that usually results in murder, also known as femicide. The killing of women, it needs to end immediately. And we need men who will talk to each other as in peer education, call each other out and send the correct message across that will turn the tide around. We are encouraged by what the Minister of Police has just said on this podium. The department have developed a month-long program for this month, which will end on the 31st of August with the G-Sport Awards, which we host in collaboration with the organization. And obviously, under the circumstances, these awards will be conducted digitally. We welcome the elite athletes that have come out speaking against the gender-based violence. We also welcome the appointment of the captain of Springboks, Sia Collis, who has been appointed as the UN ambassador on gender-based violence. Those that have looked at the news this morning, you've seen Makazole Mapimpi speaking about mobilizing men against the gender-based violence. We hope that as the month unveils, we will unveil more of these elite athletes who will be part of the partnership with the department. As I end, may I thank you all for being here and support this launch in 2020. We join and continue with the fight to end all forms of discrimination and violence against women and girls. Let us continue to stay apart, to be together in future. Let's continue to wash those hands. We must always wear these masks in public and keep that social distance so that you are able to be part of the nation that flattens the curve on COVID-19. Let's keep well, let's keep warm, let's be safe, and all of you, let's welcome the Women's Month and hope that we will enjoy even in the midst of the pandemic. Malibongwe!
Thank you very much, Deputy Minister. Mafu, it's really encouraging to even learn about the sports ambassadors who are on the campaign now against gender-based violence. So it really shows that we are turning around the tide. Mabatu, I will ask that you take over and assist with the management of questions. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, DM. My name is Mabatu Ramupi from the Department of Women, Youth and Persons with Disabilities. We are now going to open for question and answer session. Can you please try to introduce yourself, the media house that you representing? We'll start by taking the questions from the floor, and then we'll move to the one that are posed on WhatsApp. My colleague Irene, are you there? Okay. Can we start with the question on the floor? Do we have any questions? Thank you, sir.
Good morning. My name is Sipho Stirman from SABC TV News. I've got two questions. The Minister of Women, Youth and People Living with Disabilities, you mentioned that we're facing a double pandemic here, that is COVID-19 and the ongoing scourge of gender-based violence, and that lockdown has led to increase of violence against women in their homes. So what are we doing differently this year to address this issue, considering that in 2020 now we're facing this double whammy, so to speak, that it's no longer just the scourge of gender-based violence, but also we have the lockdown and COVID-19 playing a role. So what are we doing differently, considering that the circumstances are now different? A question posed to the Minister of Police. On the 15th of June, the Public Protector had I think it was her last briefing, and she was very critical of law enforcement, saying that she feels that they are not doing enough in terms of protecting women and in the fight against gender-based violence. She said she based his opinion based on the fact that she's received a lot of complaints from people in her office that say there is a lack of feedback from investigators from when people file complaints at the police station. They never get feedback and find out how far their case is going. Two, and she's also has lots of complaints regarding that there's always a delay by police in investigating cases properly. So her call during that 15th of June press briefing was that law enforcement needs to up its game because there is a change based on the complaints that she's received. So, as the Minister of Police, what would be your response to that criticism? Because clearly something that bothers the public, hence they were then in a position to file complaints to the Office of the Public Protector. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much, Minister.
Well, to honorable ministers again with us here, it would have been a very painful day, but it is indeed a joyous day to launch the Women's Month, the launch of a Women's Month to commemorate and celebrate the joy of women leadership. Mbogoto. Because we are with ministers, male, who are speaking the same language. Uthi Minister Cele, Minister of Police, sibanye. So you will not come to me and hear one story and go to him and hear another story. We serve one cabinet of a president, Ramaphosa, who says, His Excellency, women don't beat themselves. Women don't kill themselves. Women don't hurt themselves. Minister of Police, Minister Cele, says these things happen, yes, because of patriarchy, but it is caused by the other people who were supposed to be partners. Here in the room now during the day, look at us. There's no one who's afraid of the other. As he was coming back to take his seat, and he said, girl children should again walk freely and safely, even at night. He quickly sent me down a memory lane. I was born in a village. My mother will, without hesitation, send me to go buy bread at 7 in the evening, 7 kilometers away. I wouldn't even ask. I wouldn't even say I'm scared. I will go and I will come back safe. And I will have no dream of being chased by some no-so-okay gentlemen upstairs, because we did not have these things. I am talking about the same country. Yes, we refer to this period we are in as double pandemic, because women, men and women, citizens of the globe, are dealing with the challenges of COVID-19, coronavirus. But the women in South Africa have to be, in any way, we were never equal. Patriarchy had said men are stronger and they can do things better. Whereas when you are told to then say, this is a period of lockdown, we are in a lockdown period. So a man who maybe was not staying or sleeping at home every day, because it's a period of lockdown, he comes. But he doesn't bring good news. He also thinks you should go. Minister Cele is a joy to work with. I can tell you in the face. Because we have been to places. We have also gone to a place here in Saras, where a family thought their child was still okay. Kanti, the child was killed 3 days back and locked in by the husband and left behind there. So it is a double pandemic, because women were supposed to be, as they losing jobs, as our partner in arts and culture, Memafu, had said, they are not even losing lives from people who should be loving and caring for them. Gender-based violence shouldn't be having femicide, but it does, because people who were killed, as Honorable Minister had said, particularly during the month of June, it was like it's raining something. All of them killed by people they know or by their loved ones. So what are we doing differently? I did say that the president had formed an IMC, and we work together. We exchange information with the whole of cabinet, yes, but even in the committee that he had formed. Let me raise the names again so that we don't confuse you. The committee is chaired by myself, It says Minister of Police. It has Minister of Social Development, Minister of Public Service and Administration, Minister of Treasury. Whom am I forgetting? And Minister of Justice. This morning at 8 in the morning, we were sitting with the President, with the Minister of Justice, presenting or sharing with us that which he will share with you later, bills that are being looked at to be strengthened, to strengthen that which we are dealing with here. Because some of the laws we have almost seemed like perpetrators were taking advantage of the loopholes and get in between. So I'm very happy that there's no disagreement amongst us. The other one is on how those bills should be fixed. The other one is, which excited me, which I knew about it, but listening to Minister Cele repeating that there are people who are given extra, policemen and women, who are being given extra training and support. And that by the end of this, is it the end of this year, we'll have more than 400 throughout the country. And even more coming, who will be focusing on how to support women so that their cases, working with Minister Cele had also taught me that there's a difference between registering a case and reporting. Because in the past, you'd go to the police station, maybe whether you're making a registration or whether you are registering a case, nobody ever said to you, hey, this thing won't carry the day because you don't say this, you don't say that. But listening to you saying, those who go to report cases will not only be taken serious, but they will also be supported, that their cases become watertight. But the other thing that I heard the minister say is, children, men, young men, you did not create patriarchy. It is not asamaralo walena. Your responsibility is to do what Minister had said. Work on partnerships with women. He says in the department, they will get more and more women promoted. I also liked what I heard Deputy Minister Mafu saying, that their sportsmen are becoming ambassadors not only of peace, but of fighting against gender-based violence and femicide. Thank you.
Yes. I thought. Thank you, Minister. Yes, Minister. Yes. No, from here.
One page. For Sirwan, it's true. There would be lack of report back. We have raised it in our management ourselves to say somebody will go and open the case and not know what happened after the case. We have created mechanism at the station to say you report back the progress, whether there is a progress or there is no progress. For the fact that you report back, you make life better for the person that took the responsibility, under stress, came to the police station. But also, we do have, especially with this unit of the FCS, I don't know, this unit, it's not very much known, and it's doing a beautiful job. For the fact that it's got 4,728 people that are doing life. They're not in prison, they're doing life. For you to do life, somebody should have done a good job in terms of investigation and taking the case forward and all that. So there are good police, but indeed there are those that would not do their job as they're supposed to do their job. We are working on that. We have come together. We have made it one of the points to say they should be reported back on those matters. The delay on investigation. Well, I don't know what would cause the delay. The delay could be both on the side of the reporting and on the side of the response from ourselves. 2 weeks ago, I'm sure it was a big case, but I've seen people are not asking us much about it. At Kempson Park, where this lady went there to report that she was stabbed 22 times. And the police made joke out of it. Two police made joke out of it. And I'm glad that the commissioner has taken the expeditious decision on those 2 police, that they don't belong to this organization. They can't belong to this organization. We have spoken to that lady. It happens that she's a pastor. She survived that kind of attack. She was sitting in a car, somebody broke the window, stabbed her. So there are such things. But also, Minister Might, from the families, there are people that get abused. There are women that get abused by the uncles, and if they are requested by the families not to report, it's a fact. They are requested by the families to say, don't report. Sizodlani la ekhaya if you tell ukuthi umalume wakho, because umalume wakho buys us bread. And then that delayed the case sometimes from the family. As I have said, that friends and families should be also the base of helping the victims rather than stopping them going forward on those. So it would be, on that one, would be both to the family or supporting structure or ourselves as the police. The third point I want to make on this, these things for all of us, whether you are a minister in the women's, whether you are a court, whether you are a public protector, these things will help to give information for corrective. I hope this information has been given to the police. It has not arrived to me because it doesn't help for it to make news. It must be reported. I hope National Commissioner has it. I'll ask him. I'll hope, but it didn't come to me. And I'll have to ask it, those outcomes, because at the end of the day, we should not just make news about these things. We must work towards correcting them. So for it, from the public protector, would go to the police and say, these are the shortcomings, these are what people are saying, what do you do about it? So I think all structures, that includes the media, many of you do phone to say, this is a story that you receive and try to act. All of us will have to put the shoulder on the wheel when it comes to this one and try to find the way of correcting the situation. So situation is dire there, and nobody should be making news out of it. Everybody should be putting a shoulder on it. Thanks.
Okay, thank you, ministers. We'll now open questions. Irene, do you have any questions that are posted on WhatsApp? Can you read them to us?
Yes, Chair. On the WhatsApp groups, we have 3 questions. The first 2 questions are from Asanda Maliwa from Sajonisi Youth Radio. Asanda is asking, can we know where the NSP is now? The second question is directed to Minister Twene, asking Asanda is asking Minister Philip and Minister Maite, if you were to address youth, what can youth do today to assist communities to end GBV? And the third question is from Precious Lisuki from the African Post. The question is directed to Minister Tele. What practical measures is the minister taking to hold the police force accountable? Because women have reported these crimes, taken restraining orders, and yet the police, including the said special unit, still victimizes them, turns them away, or even become perpetrators themselves. How exactly is the minister holding the police force to account? Thank you.
Minister, on the where we are with the NSP.
On the issue of the NSP, I started tackling it while we were presenting the main speech, but I thought I shouldn't go into details. The NSP is a product of a summit which was led by the president. It included government and civil society organizations. They made an adoption of that which was being discussed. It was handed over by the people who were the advisors who were supporting the president. It got dealt with the group that was representing the civil society organization and those who were called in to support the president. Finally, it brought all of us, government and civil society, together. It got adopted, and it had to be for us to be able to use it, it had to be brought to a cabinet. The NSP was officially adopted by cabinet, fortunately or unfortunately, just a week before the lockdown. But we decided, or through the president, that this COVID doesn't seem to be visiting. President then appointed the 5 ministers that you had me listing earlier on. These 5 ministers who are part of the IMC are to make sure that the NSP gets delivered. So amongst the issues that the IMC looks at, it's the pillars. There are 8 pillars. Amongst those pillars includes the issue of prevention. That's what you had Minister Cele referring to, that most of the time when trouble is coming, trouble has its way to knock. The first Varam Club warns you that something smelly is on its way, so get moving. Before we leave, I'll read out the 8 pillars for you again of what the NSP came out with. But we are busy implementing this as an NSP. What did we do? Took it to cabinet, appointed the IMC. The IMC was to be joined. It's of 6 ministers. You had me counting them. the ministers are to be joined by 7 other colleagues from the civil society organizations. They asked us to give them time, but they to relocate at the matter. Actually, they want us to take it to legislation. But we said, okay, because we cannot wait while women are dying and we're doing nothing. They said, no, they will give us volunteers to work with us from the civil society's side so that we keep doing what we're doing. That's why we are able to sit and meet as an IMC, and I share with my colleagues from the IMC what we're supposed to, what we're doing, and we write the reports to the president. Now we even are in an exciting month. We will be holding regular meetings. We do hold regular meetings. We've already had 4 meetings already with the civil society organizations. We will have more. We will be telling them that society needs us to concretize this thing. I mean to form the council so that we are able to move together, but we cannot wait as government until the council is formed before we provide service to our people. The second question to me was, what should be the youth's role? I think to respond to that question, if you are a young person, you are born in a family, or you are born of 2 individuals, I think it is the responsibility also of those who are my mother and father to make sure that I grow up as a responsible child. As a young person, if you're a boy, don't wake up and kick the blanket and expect that somebody is going to make up the bed for you. Don't wake up and eat breakfast and throw stuff in the sink and imagine that somebody is going to clean up for you. Because that's where we start. Respect your sister as much as you want your sister to respect you. Protect your sister as much as she can. We heard from Minister Cele this afternoon. Protect you the way she knows how. So this is partnership. To build a nation, you need partnership. So the role of the youth is, remember that we said we will soon be handing over a baton on this theme, generation equality, realizing women's rights for an equal future. We can't, when we were fighting against apartheid, we said we were youth. It means that one day we're going to have to hand over this baton to some very serious adults who will be taking the responsibility of leadership serious. You know, it sometimes makes you feel ashamed when we visit other countries, particularly in Africa, where you don't see people looking scared as they walk around. And they don't have a lot of policemen and women guarding every corner of the household and the street, because I think you're about to do that now. But you don't hear them reporting the kind of gender-based violence and femicide that we go through. It's in our hands. Generation equality, we can realize women's rights for an equal future if we want. I thank you.
No, thanks. The first question, how to assist the nationals that everybody, if men can wake up next morning and say, we're not doing this, they won't be there. But having said what you said, Minister Mashaba, it's still one problem that we're facing, that mothers and fathers will say to young boys, that's not your job, don't wash dishes. That would be parents saying so. It's going to be a long walk, but it needs to start. It needs to say to parents, kids in this house are kids. There are no kids that we shall not, we'll say, take a dish for your brother. So, and the boy begins to realize, I'm better. She must learn to do things. And that comes unconsciously, that you have crossed the family bounds. And then the woman you meet there as your girlfriend, as your wife, you remind her all the time, it's your job, if you're not, I have power over you. It's a society that will help us. Yes, we will be using the structures, police, courts and all, but society must pick up it and say, not in our name, that women will be inferior, because that's how we think. So I think that question of stopping this belongs to all of us. The second one is about the police. I have considered all the time. You know, my phone never stops to ring by things that are not supposed to come to me, by things that are supposed to be done by the police at the station, by things that are supposed to be done by the first officer that is there. And those things, they come. So we collect that information, we deal with those police stations, we deal with those stations, we send back those feedback to the commanders in the station to say, your people are not doing well, especially those people that will be at the front line, at the CSC, Community Service Center, when the people come to report. Indeed, I have said this is a good unit, but it doesn't mean that it doesn't have bad people itself, that good unit. By the way, the first people who were arrested that stole alcohol in Cape Town were coming from this unit, from CFC. So which means it does have rotten potatoes on it. So it's a call that if you report to your station, if your station doesn't help you, you report it to your cluster, you report the phones for the senior officers. It's a call we make all the time. And I've just revived this call. We are trying to produce, Minister, the police directory, that every number of the police in the country will be in that directory, starting from Tele, going to Stole, and everybody else, because these numbers we are carrying are not ours. We don't pay bills for this. Government does, which means these are public phones, are not our phones. If you want yours, pay yours. But all of us, from brigadiers going up, we are producing that direction that will supply, so that anybody knows what is the number of your station, what is your number of your station commander when it's out. So if your station commander doesn't help, you go to, until you come to Stole, the National Commission, you come to Tele and all. So we'll be able then to react and move to the people that were supposed to be at the front line helping you, but they're not helping you. I hope this direction is going to come. We have ordered for some time. Looks like it's not coming, but we'll push so that every South African knows which police station, which police officer, including the minister, including the National Commissioner, to phone. So it will help us to be able to react and report and react quickly on those matters. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Minister. Irene, do we have any other questions?
No questions from the media.
Okay.
thank you so much. DM? Deputy Minister?
Thank you very much, Mabato, for assisting the members of the panel to interact with the media. In closing, I really want to thank all of you who are here today. You heard our call and why for us this is critical in setting the tone of what should be expected during the month of August. I'm sure you all got clearly the theme from the presentation that was done by Minister Maite Mashabane, generational equality, realizing women's rights to an equal campaign. The other point in closing, before I thank the presenters, which I really wanted to elevate, is that Minister Maite Mashabane spoke about action coalitions. I think that is important to elevate, because she's talking about partnerships with civil society. She mentioned the LGBTQIA+, members of the faith community, women in business, women in the media and communication. And just, I was listening to that question saying, but the youth is part of that. With their youth power, they are supposed to drive some actions, especially amongst young people. Also, Minister Mashabane spoke briefly about our mandate, mentioned persons with disabilities who are often hit harder by the double pandemic, that is COVID-19 and the gender-based violence. And I think our officials here will help us, Minister, to do a little bit more during this month, to pay particular attention to persons with disability. I mean, I was listening to even what Minister Cele was saying, because I had this in mind. I kept on saying, I wish they could confirm as the experience they get at the police station. But I hope, Minister, they will help us here to interact more with the sector during this month, because they have real challenges. Like when they get to the police station, and sometimes they say, I didn't go, because nobody will understand what I'm saying. They will, so there are new developments and commitments, as we heard from Minister Cele, so we have to use this month to look carefully at the challenges that are faced, especially by persons with disability. I cannot elevate everything that the minister said, because I think even during the time of Q&A, she had an opportunity to clarify what she had said. I think from Minister Cele's input, of course, we know the starting point, his own activism. We must appreciate that. I remember when we had a seminar before lockdown. It was a workshop with women in law, in the judiciary, where some women magistrates were telling us that we no longer just say, oh, the statement from the police is not helpful and throw a file away, but you use your own activism and say, call the complainants here. I want to interview that person and make sure that I improve on whatever statement that was there, or assist a colleague, a police, to improve on it. So we must appreciate from Minister Cele that he's going beyond being a minister of police, but by taking a critical look at, first and foremost, what men are doing and they're not supposed to be doing, and they are not entitled to do it. It's a very, very important step, and I think it's a challenge for all of us to go beyond the text we wear and address issues as they emerge before us. But also, I think from, even just a call, as Minister Cele was saying, this must stop here and now. I think that's a message which this brutality and slaughter of women, each and every man who have been thinking will start rethinking and say, really, how do we allow that? And of course, Minister, you mentioned also something very sensitive, that we don't talk often about the role of families when we talk about gender inequality and the challenges that women face, and how in a worst scenario, even the whole family will collude in silence, especially if the abuser of children, usually they don't abuse one, Minister Cele. A perpetrator would abuse a bigger one. It could be a father, it could be an uncle, and then later when the younger girl is growing up, she also has the same experience, and so on. And one of them, when she dare speak out and inform the family, she becomes a double victim, because everybody tells her to stop. So it's an important point which we should keep on flagging. And we appreciate, the minister said, with his budget vote on 3 consecutive terms, he has dedicated to this issue of no violence against women and children. Minister Cele, we also appreciate the unit that the minister was talking about. Actually, I personally thought it would be good for me to just visit even one center where one can see what is going on. I mean, the training element is critical. Issues of gender-based violence are not easy for all of us. I mean, including the members of the media. Sometimes we don't know how to communicate without being sensational. What is it that we say that will victimize a woman better? So the training element, we should all welcome, support, and ensure that we begin to think like that. It's what it's called, it's community service center. So we all have to support that and make sure that we move forward. I think Deputy Minister Nokawe Mafu spoke about inequality, discrimination, and exclusion, all the practices that we do which leads to these problems. But above everything, we appreciate what the department is doing in terms of working with high-profile sports people as ambassadors to help with these issues publicly. I think it will go a long way because they are liked, appreciated, and they are models for many young people. If they begin to hear from them, it might have better impact than even what families have said. So, Minister, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Minister Cele, in your absentia, thank you very much. Deputy Minister Mafu, thank you very much. Members of the media, really appreciated. Thank you. Yeah, you see, yes, right, whoever was clapping. I didn't say COVID.
COVID to say don't clap hands.
Yeah, no, it makes us shrink.
Well done. Yes. No.
Stay quiet. Yeah, it's true. It's true. It's true.
I'm coming to you.